What's going on, everyone? It is the Durf. We cannot talk about a prismatic solar warlock build without, of course, talking about Mantle of Battle Harmony. When you pair this with your favorite solar warlock build, oh my goodness, do the benefits ever increase. And I've got a build that not only helps you super spam your Song of Flame, but also allows you to deal absolutely ridiculous damage. And I feature a bow that I pair with this that is essentially the solar version of La Monarque. If you have not tried out this bow or you have not picked up Mantle of Battle Harmony yet this season, both are featured pieces of gear that you can use to buff your overall potency and survivability. So I'm going to break it down. This one is extremely fun. Of course, you know my love of Song of Flame. Let's get it going. Red hot prismatic warlock super spam build for Song of Flame. We of course have to equip Song of Flame, release a supercharged melee attack that launches additional projectiles, and create a sentient flame wisp that seeks out targets and detonates in a scorching explosion, then seeks out other nearby targets. While Song of Flame is active, you and nearby allies regenerate abilities more quickly, are more resistant to incoming damage, and your solar and kinetic weapons scorch targets. This is going to be key for your build. For abilities, I prefer the Phoenix Dive, the Burst Glide, the Arcane Needle for its 3-stack of melees. And I know what you saw in the intro video, you probably might have seen a Void Grenade slip out, but I really do like the Healing Grenade with this because I get to proc Restoration and I get to help my allies even more so. For aspects, go ahead and throw on Feed the Void for additional health and grenade energy. We're not hurting for grenade energy because the healing grenade is already one of the lowest cooldowns in all grenades, game wide. And then go on, put on Lightning Surge so that you can move around the battlefield faster, which is going to be kind of an aggressive way to play this build. For Fragments, Facet of Purpose is first up on the list. Picking up an Orb of Power is going to grant us Restoration. We're going to get a lot of health and shields regenerated by using this build, on top of getting some ridiculous weapon damage. Next up is Facet Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows. Generates an element to pick up of the matching damage type. With this build, we're going to be generating Fire Sprites, Ionic Traces, and the occasional Tangle if you forget to slide and hit your melee and actually throw out your Arcane Needle and kill an enemy. Next up is Facet of Sacrifice. While you have an Arc Solar or Void buff, ability Final Blows grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. You're going to be able to switch in and out of Transcendence very easily with this build, on top of the increased weapon damage that we're going to do with this build. So all good things, and then eventually, being able to get into Transcendence on top of spamming your super and spamming your weapons is going to be just, a nice way to round out the entire build. Next up, we have Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. Now, when we go through the weapons, some of you might be looking at the weapons I've selected and go, well, I don't know if I'm going to be rapidly defeating targets with light damage. But hear me out. You will be able to move fast enough to where you are able to, again, light damage also consists of Lightning Surge. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Anything that you're generating damage with that has light damage, attached to it is going to give you melee energy back. And then any darkness damage that you are able to generate will give you your grenade back. But again, I'm not going to be hurting for my grenade anyways, because I'm going to be running around chucking healing grenades everywhere, trying to heal myself from being so aggressive, and possibly also my allies. Last but not least is going to be Facet of Ruin. Increase the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target, and increase the area of effect of solar ignitions. So, one of the things that's going to be nice about this build is the ability to proc solar ignitions and increase the area of effect. Remember, solar ignitions also stun unstoppable champions, so that's going to be a nice add-on for this build. Or for stats, go ahead and focus into weapons, super, and your melee in that order. Try to get your grenade at least to a 7 if possible, a T7. But having weapons at over 100 is going to give you some insane weapon damage, which is going to be key once we talk about what you're going to do with that weapon damage. And having your super at a T10 is going to be pivotal to getting your super back in as little as 1 minute. Having your melee at a T10 as well, being able to spam and get your melee back as quickly as possible, get you some more orbs of power, get you some abilities back, proc your restoration, etc., etc., etc. All these things are going to be really good for you, and it's going to only make you more powerful. And this probably is one of the best super spam builds that you can spec into for Mantle of Battle Harmony in general. And if you don't believe me, here we go. Your weapon damage is going to give you an extra 15%. Because you're over 100, that's going to increase to an additional 23% large ammo brick chance, which is going to be huge for your heavy weapon. And then your super is going to generate an additional, 2.3%. So I guess my super could be higher. I could probably drop that down to a T9, bump this up to a 116. But honestly, you're going to be proccing your super so often, it's really not even going to matter. For weapons, in the kinetic slot, you can run with virtually whatever you want. Because I'm going to be pairing Strand and Solar together in my armor, I'm going to recommend going with any of these options in the Strand selection. If you do want to go with the freeze option, you can throw on Tina. And yes, I know I haven't given Tina the love that Tina deserves, but Tina's back, at least for this video. You can see I haven't been using Tina as much as in seasons past, and that's just because I can't hit crits with a special ammo sidearm. So that's kind of, I would be using this for just proccing chill clip essentially. But any of these will cover any of the enemies, or the champs, excuse me. Festival Flight is nice for all general content. Mint Retrograde is really good if you need to pierce barrier champs. The Call for Unstoppables until it's return for overloads, and of course Tina if you prefer to just use a weapon that's got chill clip. In the energy slot, Pre-Astyanax the fourth is an absolute powerhouse, and here's why. You can have Incandescent and Burning Ambition together in the same weapon. This is virtually a solar version of Le Monarque. If you are a fan of Le Monarque and you understand Le Monarque was leaned on heavily last season with all the love that Arc was receiving, now we get to lean into a bow that not only is legendary, so doesn't take up our exotic slot, but also deals ridiculous damage. I mean, the impact and accuracy rival Wish Ender, which of course is an exotic bow as well. And it hits like a truck too. True, the draw time is not ideal. It's at 662. I'd like that to be closer to 500 as much as possible. But for a precision frame compound bow, that's pretty darn good, and it's not that hard to get multi-kills with this thing. So if you haven't farmed the pinnacle missions, Pre-Astyanax the fourth is honestly worth your sweat to get done. And that is what makes this build ridiculous, is the ability to pick enemies off if you want and be able to proc Incandescent and Burning Ambition. If you don't have a good Pre-Astyanax, I highly recommend throwing on the BXR Battler. Its ability to spread Scorch and generate additional grenade energy back to you is going to pair very nicely with Mantle of Battle Harmony. You could also make a case for no hesitation, the legendary auto rifle from the Pale Heart, but because it's a support frame, I did not make it into my top couple options. In the heavy slot, there is only one option, and that is Dragon's Breath. Rockets eject burning fuel, strong against unstoppable champions. This thing is an absolute damage beast. You can see, I just noticed it now. There is smoke literally coming out of the Dragon's Breath ejection port there in the front, and or the barrel, I guess, is a better way to put it. But either way, there's not much horrible I could say about this. High octane, igniting nearby targets partially replenishes fuel. The weapon refills itself from reserves upon gaining maximum fuel. Composite propellant, rockets embed themselves in struck targets and periodically eject incendiary fuel that inflicts scorch. The longer this weapon goes without firing, the more fuel the next rocket contains. Strong against unstoppable champions. And then once you get the catalyst done, the weapon replenishes its fuel much faster. Defeating targets with this weapon causes them to periodically drop fire sprites. So we're going to get a ton of fire sprites just from this weapon by itself, and then on top of using our Mantle of Battle Harmony to spam our super, and on top of, Pre-Astyanax, if that's the weapon you are using, generating a ton of Scorch and, ignitions everywhere along the battlefield. It's just going to be a wave of fire everywhere you are at. All right. Mantle of Battle Harmony. Gain super energy on elemental weapon takedowns. When your super energy is full, you instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of that type. So your heavy weapon is going to benefit from it, as well as your Pre-Astianics or your BXR Battler, depending on what you want. Anything that you kill with those two weapons are going to absolutely fill your super bar much quicker. You've heard of 1 minute supers. This is how you get a 1 minute super right here. And if you love Song of Flame, you love your Warlock. If you don't know what Mantle of Battle Harmony is, and this is the first time you're hearing it, believe me, it's worth the grind to get yourself a good roll so that you can incorporate it into your builds and hopefully wreck the battlefield with just fire everywhere. For the rest of the armor, go ahead and throw on whatever general armor mod that you need. For the helmet, make sure you have a heavy ammo finder and at least a harmonic siphon. You can see this loadout fallback mod. What that means is I have something else selected in the artifact, which I'll fix before I go over to the artifact. But you want to have it matching to either stasis and solar or strand and solar. And obviously I have the stasis and solar selected before I started this portion of the video. For the gauntlets, go ahead and put on your fastball and put on 2 heavy-handed mods because, again, we're running with the healing grenade. We're going to proc our lightning surge as often as possible. For the exotic armor, put on 2 elemental damage resistance mods. Put on your solar ammo generation mod for your dragon's breath. For the legs, go ahead and put on your innervation, invigoration, and absolution so you get your abilities back even quicker. And then for your class item, if your class ability is at a dismal low like mine is, make sure you put your class font on. 1 Orb of Power gives you a plus 30 to your class stat, so bumps me immediately to a 45. And again, my class stat I think maxes out at like a 1 minute cooldown. So again, we're not really hurting for it, but it's just nice to have. Put on Outreach so you can get your melee back faster, and round it out with the Reaper so the few times you do use your class ability, you can proc an Orb of Power for free with your weapons afterwards. For the artifact, go ahead and throw on Anti-Barrier Scout and Pulse, Unstoppable Sidearm and Hand Cannon, and Overload Rapid Fire. Now, depending on what weapons you use with the build, just make sure that you have the correct champs accounted for. In the second column, Rapid Precision Rifling is going to be really good if you use a Scout Rifle. Flame Fiber and Freeze, you want to combine the Solar Strand and Solar Stasis Siphon mods into one. Fever and Chill is going to be key here. Rapid precision hits with solar weapons grants Radiant. So with our Pre-Astianics, we're going to be Radiant as well as generating Scorch, as well as generate Incandescent, which is going to spread Scorch as we make our kills. So it's going to be a good time. Reciprocal Draw, put this on if you are using a sidearm, and Refresh Threads. When you pick up that elemental pickup, it's going to give you ability energy to your least charge ability. Elemental Coalescence is key here. Defeating targets has a chance to create an elemental pickup matching your equipped super element, which of course is going to be Fire Sprites. And Cauterized Darkness, I go back and forth between this one and Elemental Daze. Matter of fact, I'm just going to tell you right now, Elemental Daze is best if you are going against champs. Stunning a champ with an elemental weapon creates an elemental elan explosion, applying a matching elemental debuff to them and nearby targets. Round it out with Shield Crush so you can get increased melee recharge rate on the offhand chance that you might proc Frost Armor if you have that in your kinetic slot. And then what we want more is the ability to become amplified or radiant. We get increased grenade recharge. So as you're dealing damage, you can chuck that healing grenade at your feet and just keep going. You can refresh. It's virtually going to be an unlimited amount of healing you can generate for yourself, virtually just doing nothing. And oh, by the way, if that's not enough, all the damage you generate is going to generate your super back even quicker. So you can go from healing to super to healing to super to scorch to super to scorch to healing to super over and over and over again. And if that wasn't enough, Radiant Shrapnel, dealing sustained weapon damage while radiant, or defeating a Scorch combatant with the weapon, causes the target to release solar projectiles that deal damage and Scorch on impact. So yeah, we might be using a bow as our main Aclair. So what? We have Radiant Shrapnel, we have Scorch, we have Burning Ambition, we have Incandescent. We have all these things that are going to help us just make the battle even quicker. And again, I don't have like a T5 Pre-Astianics, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. So once you get higher on the power grind, you're going to be able to have that same amount of potency, but even better than what I have here today. So one of the reasons I think you should try this build is Mantle of Battle Harmony is a featured exotic. I know that you're probably sick of hearing me talk about Mantle of Battle Harmony. It seems like I talk about it every season, but for good reason. Now we get added damage resistance. I mean, look at it. 5 out of 5 armors are giving me a 9% damage resistance just for playing the game. As the tiers get higher, the damage resistance gets higher. Look at the kinetic slot. We get an additional 4% kinetic weapon damage. And again, that's at a tier 2. The pre-Astyanics, I get an extra 2% weapon damage. But add to that the fact that all my weapon damage is going to automatically be buffed by 15%, plus an additional 3.5% for my special and my primary, and an additional 2.3% for my heavy weapon. So all I'm going to be doing is generating tick damage upon tick damage upon tick damage. When you get to higher level content, this is going to be key. Right now, you see I'm sitting at 247. That's partially my fault because I do so many of these builds. But add to that the fact that you're going to get bonus damage from your Mantle of Battle Harmony when you're firing your solar weapons with your super fully charged. And I mean, what is that going to come out to? I mean, that's good. I mean, you're basically probably going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of about 25 combined % weapon damage once it's all said and done from all the add-ons with this build that has to offer. Thinking the ignitions, thinking the tick damage, the scorch, the the incandescent, shield crush, all these things, plus the unlimited health regen with the healing grenades. And this is going to be just an insanely powerful build. So if you haven't messed around with Mantle of Battle Harmony in a while, or maybe you're a little unsure if it's even worth speccing into because, maybe you don't have the best roll. It is, because then you can max out your weapon stat and gain additional damage on top of additional damage. And that is just sweet. So if you did find anything helpful in this video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you know a Guardian out there who loves Mantle of Battle Harmony, loves Solar, and wants to find a way to proc Song of Flame more frequently and more often, go ahead and share this video with them or send them my way. My goal is to help as many people as possible. As always, I will have a dim link in the description for you guys to copy directly. And if by chance you are looking for a non-toxic gaming community, I highly recommend jumping into my Discord. Everybody is on the power grind right now, trying to get those tier 4 and tier 5 gears and figure out the different archetypes to max out your stats as high as possible. And it's nice to sometimes have some friends to do that with, and that's what the community is all about. People helping people, whether you have low skill or high skill, doesn't matter. The community can benefit from you. Just a willingness to try to be a pal to someone else is what a good community is all about. There's no toxicity, and everyone is just down to help, however they can, when they can. So I'm going to switch over to the boss battle. You're going to see me. I did not realize that you can't pick up a relic when you have procced Song of Flame as it's a roaming super, but apparently I decided to proc it at the exact wrong time, so you're going to get to laugh at me on that here in a second. All right, here we go. So here we go, the boss battle. As you can see, for whatever reason, I was extremely timid at firing that first round from my Dragon's Breath. But never fear, I do slightly improve before I absolutely botch my super. Song of Flame is still one of the best supers in terms of overall damage that you can generate. Not to mention, for those who have forgotten, allies that are near you when you proc Song of Flame also receive the benefit of Radiant, which means in a group of 3 or even during a raid, when you proc your Song of Flame, your entire fire team, not just you, benefits from the added damage potential and resistance to overall damage around you. You can see here that I have the Void Grenade selected for this run. I opted to switch over to the Healing Grenade after this because I just didn't feel like I was able to take advantage of what Void had to offer in terms of that. And I also like the ability, because we can proc additional things by granting allies ability buffs or just buffs in general. When you can grant someone Cure, that will only add to your potency, so make sure you switch that out. I forgot to mention that during the walkthrough of the video. But either way, Song of Flame spam, tried and true. Some of you out there are probably like, but Durf, you could put on No Hesitation and the Call and Promemoria and proc it even faster. That's true, but you know what those aren't? Oh, here we go. This is my my blunder. I realized real quickly that I had extremely messed up. But either way, so yes, I could put on those weapons that have the Dealer's Choice perks and further buff my super regen. The problem with that is No Hesitation is of course, a support frame. it's not really known for its insane DPS potential. So what I opted to do instead was have consistently higher, DPS generation by putting on Pro Astyanax the 4th. So anyways, hopefully you guys laughed at that boss battle with me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the build, enjoyed the video, can make it work for you in this season. I will see you guys next time. Thanks as all for your support. Take care.